Urban legends always held a special fascination for me. They were the stories whispered in the dark, the tales of horrors lurking just beyond the realm of reason. But one legend, in particular, still haunts my nights: the legend of the Whistler in the woods. The story goes that deep within the dense forest that skirts our town, there's a clearing known only to the bravest souls. It's said that on the darkest of nights, a haunting melody pierces the silence. The Whistler, as they call him, is a phantom, his presence heralded by the mournful tune. One evening, curiosity got the best of me, and armed with a flashlight, I ventured into the woods. The path was treacherous, branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, and the wind seemed to carry an ominous whisper. As I entered the clearing, the forest around me fell silent. The air grew thick with an unseen presence, and then I heard it, a soft, haunting whistle. It sent shivers down my spine. I followed the sound, the beam of my flashlight cutting through the darkness. The melody was both beautiful and eerie, like a siren's call. It drew me deeper into the heart of the woods. And then I saw him, a figure standing in the moonlight, his back turned to me, whistling that eerie tune. I called out, but he didn't respond. My steps grew hesitant as I approached, the sense of foreboding intensifying with every step. I reached out to touch his shoulder, but my hand met empty air. The figure dissolved like mist, and the whistling ceased. The woods around me seemed to close in, the trees twisting and contorting as if alive. Panic surged as I realized I was alone, trapped in this nightmarish landscape. As I stumbled back, I heard it. The faint sound of whistling, not from one direction, but from all around me. The Whistler was no longer a single figure. He was the very forest itself. Terrified, I fled, branches clawing at my clothes as I raced back to the safety of the town. I never ventured into those woods again, but the haunting melody of the Whistler lingers in my mind, a reminder that some legends are not meant to be pursued, and that darkness can be far more than just a story in the night. Urban legends have always fascinated me, but none chilled my bones like the tale of the black-eyed children. They say encounters with them are rare, but when they happen, they're unforgettable. I wish I'd never become a part of that story. It was a foggy night when I left the convenience store, a bag of snacks in hand. As I approached my car, I heard it, a soft, plaintive voice from the shadows. "Sir, could you help us? We're lost and need to make a phone call." I turned to see two children, a boy and a girl, standing near a flickering street lamp. The hood of their jackets concealed most of their faces, but their eyes, those were unmistakable. Hollow black voids that seemed to absorb all light. A shiver crawled down my spine, but I couldn't just leave children alone at night. I asked what was wrong and if they needed me to call someone for them. The girl stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Please, can we just use your phone? Our parents are worried." Despite my unease, I agreed and unlocked my car. As they approached, the chill in the air deepened, and a feeling of dread settled over me. I handed the girl my phone, and she dialed a number. But as she held the phone to her ear, her gaze locked onto mine. Her voice changed, taking on an otherworldly, almost sinister tone. "He's here," she said, "and he's watching." I froze, my heart pounding. Who was watching? What was happening? The girl ended the call and handed back my phone with a twisted smile. "We don't need your help anymore," she hissed, and the children turned and vanished into the fog. I fumbled into my car, my hand shaking as I started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I glimpsed them standing in the distance, their black eyes fixed on me. Panic surged as I sped away, the image of those eyes burning into my memory. I've never encountered the black-eyed children again, but their eerie warning lingers. They are a legend that walked out of the shadows and into my life, leaving behind a chilling reminder that not all urban legends should be brushed off as mere stories. There's something eerie about desolate highways at night where the road stretches on like a ribbon into the unknown. But nothing could have prepared me for what I encountered on that fateful evening while driving along the infamous haunted highway. The legend of this stretch of road was as old as the town itself, a tale whispered in the corners of local bars and told around campfires. They said that once a year, On the anniversary of a tragic accident, the spirits of the victims would return, seeking retribution from any travelers unfortunate enough to cross their path. It was a moonless night when I found myself on the haunted highway. The air grew cold, and the surrounding forest seemed to press in on the road. My hands tightened on the steering wheel as I tried to shake off the unease that settled over me like a shroud. That's when I saw them. A group of ghostly figures standing in the middle of the road. They wore tattered clothing, their faces twisted in agony. Panic surged as I realized I was surrounded, with no way to turn back. The apparitions drew closer, their eyes hollow sockets that seemed to pierce through my soul. I could hear their mournful cries, a chorus of anguish that sent shivers down my spine. As they reached my car, one figure, a woman, extended a pale, spectral hand. Her voice echoed in my mind, a haunting plea for help. "Please," she whispered, "you must pay the toll." I had heard the stories of the toll, a gruesome sacrifice demanded by the vengeful spirits. In my fear, I nodded, and the woman's ghostly hand brushed against my cheek. It was as cold as death itself. Suddenly, the atmosphere grew even colder, and the figures began to dissipate, their cries fading into the night. I was alone once more, shaken, but alive. I continued down the haunted highway, my heart still pounding. The darkness seemed to stretch on forever, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the spirits were still watching, still waiting for another traveler to cross their path. As I left the highway and reached the safety of civilization, I couldn't help but wonder about the toll I had paid. What had become of those lost souls, and what price had I truly paid for my passage? The legend of the haunted highway would forever haunt my nightmares, a chilling reminder that some urban legends are rooted in the darkest depths of reality. And as I looked back at the road disappearing into the night, I knew that I had crossed a threshold into a world where the living and the dead converged, and the toll exacted by the spirits would linger in my soul for the rest of my days. Urban legends have always intrigued me, but one in particular cast an eerie shadow over my childhood: the legend of the shadowed playground. The story was a whispered secret among the kids in my neighborhood. They said that after the sun dipped below the horizon, the playground at the edge of town became a place of unspeakable horror. The swings swayed on their own, the merry-go-round spun without a hand to turn it, and the shadows came to life, luring unsuspecting souls into their grasp. One evening, my curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate the playground. As I approached, the air grew colder, and the familiar laughter of children at play was replaced by an unsettling silence. The swings creaked ominously, moving in a synchronized dance despite the absence of any wind. The merry-go-round spun, its rusted edges gleaming in the dim light, and the shadows cast by the moon seemed to stretch and contort in unnatural ways. I ventured closer, my heart pounding in my chest. The shadows seemed to beckon, their voices whispering in my ears. "Come play with us," they urged, their words a haunting melody that sent shivers down my spine. I hesitated, my fear warring with my curiosity, and that's when I saw them, the children. They emerged from the darkness, their faces obscured by shadow, their eyes like pools of inky blackness. They moved with an otherworldly grace, their laughter a haunting chorus that echoed through the night. I tried to turn and flee, but an invisible force held me in place. The shadows closed in around me, their fingers like icy tendrils. They whispered secrets in my ear, secrets that chilled me to the bone, secrets I had long buried in the depths of my subconscious. As the children drew nearer, their laughter turned into a chorus of sinister giggles. They reached out with skeletal hands, their touch sending a paralyzing chill through my body. I couldn't move, couldn't escape the grasp of the shadows. And then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the children and the shadows melted back into the darkness. I was left alone in the silent playground, my mind reeling from the encounter. I fled from the shadowed playground, my heart heavy with the weight of the secrets the shadows had revealed. The legend had become my reality, a chilling reminder that some urban legends are more than just stories. They are glimpses into a world where the darkness within ourselves takes on a life of its own, and the line between reality and legend blurs into a nightmare. I've always been drawn to urban legends, those tales that defy logic and linger in the darkest corners of our imaginations. One story that haunted my thoughts for years was the legend of the vanishing hitchhiker. The story circulates around an old, deserted highway that winds through the woods, a road known for its treacherous twists and eerie silence. The legend has it that on moonless nights, a mysterious figure appears on the side of the road, hitchhiking for a ride. One chilly autumn evening, I found myself driving along that very highway, a full moon casting eerie shadows on the deserted road. The legends whispered in my mind, but I brushed them aside as superstition. That was my first mistake. As I drove, I spotted her, a young woman, her face concealed by a hood, her thumb extended for a ride. I hesitated but ultimately decided to stop, ignoring the warning bells in my mind. She climbed into the back seat without a word. I asked where she was headed, but she remained silent, her face obscured in the shadows. Unease crawled over me, but I continued driving. The silence stretched on, broken only by the occasional rustling of leaves outside. As we neared her supposed destination, I glanced into the rearview mirror to see her face, to bid her farewell. But the seat was empty. My heart thundered in my chest as I swerved the car to a stop. I jumped out, frantically searching the area, calling her name into the night. But there was no one there, no sign of the mysterious hitchhiker. Fear clutched at my throat as I climbed back into the car, slamming the door shut. I sped away from that accursed highway, my mind racing with disbelief. When I reached the nearest town, I reported the incident to the local police, convinced I had encountered something supernatural. They listened, their expressions pensive, before revealing the truth that had eluded me. This stretch of road had claimed countless lives over the years, and my encounter was eerily similar to others who had picked up the phantom hitchhiker. I was not alone in my experience, and countless others had seen her before, only to watch her vanish without a trace. The vanishing hitchhiker had claimed another victim, a twisted specter from the depths of urban legend. To this day, the memory of that night haunts my dreams, a chilling reminder that some stories, no matter how far-fetched, have an unsettling way of weaving themselves into our reality. And I'll never forget that empty seat in the back of my car, a chilling testament to the enduring power of the vanishing hitchhiker.